The hour of 9 a.m. is upon us. Why don't I kick this all off by saying initially, good morning. And, let me tell you what I'd like to do here. I'd like to go over all the line items that we have agreed upon in terms of reductions or increases in revenue. And once we do that, then I'd like to take one more total review of the budget and see if we are in agreement on those lines. And then hopefully, this will be our last meeting on the deal budget. I think this is our third, and I hope it would be our final. So we could agree on that. Welcome, Commissioner. Let me start with the easy one first, and let's look at the revenue side. And let's see if we all agree on that. And just make sure we're all reading off the same piece of paper. I am looking at the county financial budgets. The date I have on the 2/19/2015, which I believe were the most current ones given us. I'm on the revenue side, Frank, it's page 2. I'm looking at the jail and the house of correction income.
You have a total of 87,000?
134, I do.
Right, okay.
Everybody on board here?
Yep.
Okay, what I'd like to say on this is that we have the addition of one line, and I'm pleased to see that the word borders has been corrected, or the correct spelling, that was good. Whatever. Yeah. What we have there is, in addition, and we think it's a conservative figure of $62,964, which be in addition. So if I could just round up a little bit, what we have here is an additional revenue amount of $63,000 from the original of $24,171. Are we all in agreement with that number?
What do you got for a total?
I have a total of $87,134.
Yep.
I would be pleased to accept a motion that we would accept the revenue budget, which was due to the increase of inmates coming in from another county. And we can put this to bed.
And that's very conservative.
Only one of you guys would have to move it.
Is the 62,964, I thought you said there was a chance that you might be getting some more?
Yes, that's the conservative. I feel comfortable that we're going to keep consistent throughout the year. It's a good opportunity. We're going to have more.
That figure takes that into consideration already, you're saying?
No, that figure gives me to comfortably saying we're going to keep 3 for the entire year. We currently have more, and we could have more, but I don't want to exaggerate numbers and also we don't have them. I comfortably say we can have that.
And
I make a motion we accept that figure of $87,134 as a total revenue for the jail and the house corrections.
56.
okay. I guess I could second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I have to act as chair and minute taker. Just bear with me.
I'm trying to take notes also.
That in my
You do a good job.
okay. Before we move on, let me just say that if For those of us who have served on this jail subcommittee, we're very pleased that this has taken place. We have spoken about this for as long as I've been on the delegation, and kudos to you for moving on it and actually doing something. And say that also to the commissioners. I think that's terrific. We had an underutilized jail, and thanks to your activities, we've got to realize an additional revenue, maybe quite a bit of revenue, and I think that's terrific for the county. And good for you for doing it. So, thank you.
I second it. I know when the first time I was down here, I made some inroads with the county commissioners from Coas. They were complaining that their jail was so antiquated that the maintenance that it took for the upkeep was just abhorrent. And the commissioners and I talked about maybe joining forces and bringing some of their prisoners down. And the commissioners here at the time, I think just they didn't go along with it, particularly one.
Representative, I think it was their commissioners that didn't want to go along with it.
Well,
I'm
that's what Dorothy Solomon said. But anyway, you might look into it, you know, if you get a chance, maybe just talk to them. Just a possibility they might be into something like that. But I know they were talking about how old their prison was and the cost to maintain it is, you know, it's not worth it. And they were thinking about maybe building a new one even. If they could move all the prisoners down here while they built a new one. Anyway, just a thought.
All right, what I'd like to do now is move over to the expense side of this. And again, we're looking at the same sheet of paper. It was published 2/19/2015.
That's correct.
Expenditure line here. And I think these have basically been agreed to, but let me go over them again here.
24.
Yeah, page 24.
Yeah.
Let's see if this still holds true. I'm looking at the line 12, the medical insurance line. And we're looking at a number of 387.78, is that correct?
387,027.
027.
That is with the reductions of the anticipated contract going through.
Say that again, 387,027?
Correct. That's why I got Kathy. If Kathy put something different, I mean, it's only off by a little bit.
Yeah, $50.
So $50 difference, okay.
So that's a reduction of roughly 37K from the proposed budget, correct?
Correct.
And it represents a slight increase from the actual dollars expended in 2014, is that correct?
Correct. And that reduction, again, is tied to the contract going through in agreement with the insurance that's going to change.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go any further, today we're going to have some lines in here which we're going to be looking at a little later, you know, salary and whatever. And for purposes of this exercise, my assumption will be is that the contract will go through. Now, if the delegation in its full wisdom decides not to do this, then we will have to revisit those. But I don't really want to spend a lot of time this morning on what ifs and what have yous, and it just doesn't seem productive to me. So, purposes of this exercise, I'm going to make an assumption. We're going to go through If not, then we're all back at the starting gate anyway. If that makes sense, then we'll go forward from that, okay? Okay, gentlemen, then, basically, I'm okay with the 387,027 line on that. Which I don't think we have much choice. And then for purposes of our committee, that will show us a reduction of $37,000 from the proposed. Rather than go through this, looking for line by line, I'm gonna go through it all, and then at the end, if you got any questions, I'll ask for a blanket approval on it. Okay, line 24, we have legal fees. They were reduced by an amount of,
18,500 to 5,500.
so it's gonna be what, 5,000 or 5,500?
5,500.
And that represents a reduction of $13,000. Everybody got that?
It was which one now?
That was the legal fee, it was line
24.
24.
And it's what?
It's gonna go to $5,500.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And that represents a reduction of 13,500.
Yep.
Is that union, because we don't have a union contract coming up
Yeah, we took out the money for the union contract. Again, we're back at square one for the back union contract, adding another 10 grand back to it.
next year?
That,
Yeah.
that reduction is 13, not 13.5.
That's just a reduction in that.
You said 13.5, it's really
Yeah,
13.
Yeah, I originally had 5, that was my error.
Okay.
Although I'm okay with another 500. Okay, line 28, we have a reduction. That's going down to 12,000. Although this is not really a reduction, we just shifted the lines, correct? Am I right on that?
Well, there was reduction anyways on it. We did reduce what we asked for from last year. When I put it both together, I combined inmate programs and the electronic monitoring.
Yeah.
But inmate programs itself is down from last year, 17.5 down to 12.
Talking about inmate programs?
Yep. From last year, but from what I asked, this coming year, it's still the same. I just had to combine both lines.
So is it 12,000 that's there now, is that the correct figure?
Correct.
And that represents a reduction of 5,500. Which column would you people like me to do the subtraction from? The proposed or the adopted budget, which is what, the commissioner's budget?
No, that was last year's adopted budget.
Yeah.
That's last year.
The proposed is the commissioner's budget for this year.
All right, so then we're actually looking at,
I would go by the adopted budget, really.
well, that's
From
my
last year.
question, we want to go on the adopted. So we're $5,500, right? All right, now line 29, we have a $10,000 reduction there, to 52,000.
62,000?
Yeah, from, well,
Yeah.
For 52,170, I should, we took it down 10.
I have it down to 62,170 when, because at first it was 72, right?
What do you have?
62,170?
Yeah, no, my notes here show that we had taken that down 10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I originally put 72,000, we took it down to 62,000, because that was my error. That 62 from last year's 57 would represent the paying for Reliance Learning. That's a contract,
Yeah,
that's
even on
contract.
the earlier one, I'm showing 62,170 as the proposed. I never saw 72.
Well, if you go to 62, you're not taking it down, you're adding.
The actual dollars spent, it's down. Actual
I
dollars
mean, if
spent
you're going
was
by
68.
the adopted budget, you're going from 57 to 62.
Well, I guess, obviously, when I first put it forward, I had 72 my first time, and then I dropped down to 62 because I made an error, but I can tell you it's at 62,170. Last year we spent 68.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we're over, and this, what this encompasses, why it's 62, is the Reliance Learning for 5,000.
Yeah, we dropped it 10 from 72 to 62.
Correct.
All right, so you want to leave it at 62?
Correct.
All right, well, listen, I'm not going to touch that line. I'm reading your note here. You had it, you know, your 72,000 never, obviously never made it into the budget sheet, but the, your end result is here, so let's just leave it alone then. Okay. Line 39, other supplies. We're looking at a $3,000 reduction from 25 to 22. Line 51, we took that down to 205, which is a reduction of 6K.
Repeat that one again, please.
51.
That was line 51, meals. It went from 211 to 205.
Jason, this was cleared with the nursing home, right?
Oh, Howie said it's gonna be tight, because at first we put it at
If you're
2.
reducing yours, he has to reduce his income.
Yep,
Okay.
and I'll make sure he has it.
The next one I'm showing an increase, that's line 61, which is the electric expense. And that was an increase of 20 grand due to the increase in electric. The heating expense line was in flux. We were looking for a bid to come in with a possible decrease there. We have an update on
Yep,
that?
I do have an update on that. They did lock in a bid, the commissioners did, and pretty comfortably looks like with what we're paying, we can reduce that line down to $85,000.
Whoa.
Which one is that?
You're pretty sure of that now?
That's what I got from downstairs, and that's with them figuring out how many gallons we get per year, an average, what this cost is, and then, again, putting a little in there because depending on the winter, so yes.
You have a meter on your building, right? Gas meter?
Yes, I believe we do.
Yeah, because Joe does the readings, that's right.
Okay.
Joe sends a reading.
I guess my only concern, my only caution, we signed a contract, a 2-year contract with Eastern at $1.14 a gallon for,
Which is great.
for 2 years, 360,000 gallons. But his number is going to be right if the degree days are the same. I mean, if we have like a colder winter, we're going to use more, even though it's cheap, we're going to use more. He's basing his budget on the previous usage, so.
Right.
I don't know how tight you wanna make that, but if we have a colder winter than we did, we're gonna burn more gallons, so.
Well, it's a good reduction no matter how you slice it. How about you go to 95,000, I give you another 10 grand in there. Is that okay, fellas?
Yeah.
Just a little cushion there,
Yeah.
but still a significant reduction.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's $20,000 reduction, right? So that offsets your electric.
Which one,
This would be, Frank, line 65, heating expense.
heating expense from 115 down to 95?
95,
$20,000 deduction,
yeah.
20,149.
Yeah.
$1.14? $1.14?
$1.14.
Yeah. For 2 years. We were thrilled with the contract.
Yeah, good job.
That was for what, oil or propane?
Propane.
Propane, wow.
The only,
I'm still paying $3.
the only issue we might have on that is now, because propane is so cheap, we're gonna burn more propane than wood pellets.
Wow.
So in time, we might run out of propane and have to go back to the pellets, but at least for a year and a half, we got a real buy on that.
Yeah, you did.
That's
Yeah.
great.
And that was because we called in 3 different companies,
Yeah.
and we ended up getting 2 bids, but,
We were thrilled.
yep.
Man, I can't believe that, $1.19.
And it's
14,
been- And it's been signed.
$1.14.
Great.
They own the tank.
The next reduction I see is line 81, which is maintenance and building repair. Jason, you want to talk about that? What's your final number here? I'm looking at you were in favor, were you in favor of reducing the 45,000 to 40, or is 45 the number? here?
45 is the number we had, it was 50, well, 15 changed, reducing down to 45 with the caveat that we were gonna take a look at the settlement to fix the back staircase, and not take it out of that maintenance budget.
Okay, now, even with the 45,000, that's up considerably from
It was
end
20.
of 2014.
It's up double.
Well, no, I added, both lines are together, 81 and 82 are combined into one line now. So it
Okay.
was 20,000 and 11,700, so it was 31,700 for both lines, from 31,700 to 45,000.
Jason, you got money in there for the
Roof
What?
boiler? The boiler?
Yes, I mean, we hope, we anticipate.
But why would you
But do you have money
combine?
in there?
Huh?
Do you have money in there?
In this 45,000? Yeah,
That's for that?
to work on the boilers and stuff. I
Okay.
can't guarantee, I mean, last year we spent $10,000 on the boilers.
Right.
We're up to date right now, we've already spent, some wires that burn and everything else, we're already over about $3,000 right now.
Mhm.
All right, so maintenance on that building is expensive. As you can see, we're over by almost 9 and change last year over between those 2 budgets.
Why would you commingle building maintenance and repair with equipment repair? They're 2 different things altogether.
We didn't see it that way because we're using, I mean, equipment repair is boilers, maintenance building repairs is still boilers, it's still the HVAC system. It's the same thing for building repairs and maintenance repairs. We don't see it as, we don't have heavy equipment like the farm or anything like that, you know? So it's all building repairs basically is what it is. Building and maintenance.
It's maintenance, yeah.
I understand the logic, and I still think they should be separated somehow.
How would you define the two? What would you put in each category though, Frank? if you did that?
Well, I don't think the word equipment satisfies the law of the definition of an appropriation. It's supposed to be specific. And in fact, the law says it's not the commissioners. It is the responsibility of the convention. And it says shall,
Yeah,
which means it's mandatory.
I understand that. What I was asking is, what would you, how would, if you wanted to separate them, what would you put in each category?
And that's why I dropped
Well,
equipment repairs, maintenance slash building repairs.
You've got building maintenance and building repair.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand what that is. Why can't you say, building equipment or interior equipment and something to, so that we're not just looking at equipment. That could be anything. It could be a shovel, it could be a hammer, a pair of pliers.
I guess that's why I didn't use equipment repairs, I could use maintenance slash building repairs. I mean, you want maintenance slash something
I know, but
else.
then on the next one, you got equipment.
Which he zeroed out because our discussion here was they really didn't have anything that fell into that category. And what he was talking about was basically the boiler repairs and all that stuff, which I think should have gone into the building repair line, where they now have it now. Unless you have other equipment, then I don't know. You know.
What about stuff in the control room? Where does that fall?
Other fees and services, possibly.
Even if it's purchasing new
It's not maintenance.
equipment?
It's not under, it's not, that's maintenance is maintenance for building, the way it's set up, it's maintenance for building and repairs. It's not maintenance for the control room, which is,
Operations, right.
yeah, which is
Okay.
either new technology or other fees and services, because we'd have to get our company, Comtech, to come in and actually fix that. So that's why it's listed under, it'll be out of that category.
These terms always get kind of nebulous when you try to categorize, because there's some things that are, you know, brick and mortar, and there's some things, and then you get the ones kind of in between, and it's
Yeah.
hard for everybody to get agreement on what falls in what category, I guess. You can debate these,
That's exactly the point.
yeah.
That's why it's supposed to be, according to the law, specific.
Yeah, and that, but I guess I'm looking for, if the law wants us to be specific, where's the list? I mean, what's the guideline for us to say this is
That's
building?
the only guideline is specific, in detail.
Yeah,
And I just, you know, to me, you know, I've been fighting this for so long, even in town, I'm on the town's budget committee, you know, and they say office equipment. And then they bring in, you know, a coffee maker, and a refrigerator, and, oh, that's part of office equipment.
I know. I've been through the same thing.
What would you suggest?
Shouldn't it be
Right
equipment replacement when the boiler needs to be replaced? Or is that under a capital plan?
That'd be on the capital plan. if you're gonna
How about heating plant equipment?
Well, it's not just heating, it's HVAC, it's also the doors, locks, our overhead doors. It's all the maintenance needs of the entire facility of the jail. AC, there's a lot that it encompasses, but it's maintenance and building repairs. That's why it's like,
Well, listen, just for the moment, because I just want to move this along. How about we populate this line with $1, which leaves the line open, and then if you get into anything that you think is other than a building repair, we can make the transfer. Yes, sir.
I just had a quick comment. I think the problem with line 81 is the word repair, because building maintenance should be, that's what 81 should be, in my opinion. And then equipment repairs, because that's separate. So I think the word repair in two places is confusing us. If you
the
think
word
about
is
that.
maintenance. Drop the
It should be
building repair.
maintenance, building maintenance, that would include all maintenance for everything in the building. Maintenance, see, maintenance and the word repair are two different words.
Take repair out.
Repair is out. Now, 82, equipment repairs would be fine if the boiler breaks. I'm sorry. Yeah, repairs. Yeah, I think I made my point at the beginning. The repair and maintenance words should be in two different lines.
Yep, I can leave it to maintenance and equipment repairs. Equipment repairs, right now, we anticipate, we don't have a lot of equipment, so we're anticipating repairing any equipment.
When you have a maintenance contract, you're maintaining equipment. But if it breaks, then you have to repair it, and that comes from the other line.
What are you suggesting as you take out?
Combine them and say maintenance, building, maintenance and equipment. Maintenance, building / equipment, combine them.
Yeah. Sorry, that was
That
all.
way you know it's equipment that pertains to specifically that building. It'll be maintenance, building / equipment.
Okay. Unpopulate the line with the dollar? I'll leave the dollar in there.
And then combine them. That's the way they are now anyway, so.
Can we repeat the number for that line?
45,000. Do you still want me to keep a dollar populating the other line in case there's,
Well, let me ask, because it's still up considerably, so you've gone from 31.7
7
to
to
45,
45,
actually. Correct?
correct?
And that is because of, you're gonna do tube replacements, is that it?
Well, we did on one boiler this past year, 6, 5, 7, 8. Oh, we spent last year $41,307, last year. I'll have to look at the two maintenance lines, what actual spent.
How much?
$41,307. Between the two lines, is what we spent last year.
That's the two lines combined, right?
Right.
Yes, that's what we spent last year. We anticipate, yes, we replaced one boiler with all their tubes. The next boiler's gonna need all their tubes replaced. Like I said, we've already spent $3,000 in the short duration of time on the boilers. There's a lot to go on the boilers and the HVAC system, including the computer system that's over 10 years old, that you can't get an old enough computer to bring in to work with it. So we're have to look down the road of what we're gonna do this year with that as well. So there's a lot of maintenance, upkeep, and things we have to do with, those are two big items. Again, a lock on a door, on a jail door, it's 300 and some odd and change, just one, when they go. Because they're heavy duty, you know, and replacing those here and there. The tracks to bring the heavy doors over, those are expensive to fix and maintain. So it's not cheap to keep a building, a $13 million building, running correctly.
And last year you spent how much total between the 41 something?
$41,307 is what we spent last year.
What's your druthers?
Well, maintenance deferred is just more money in the long term.
I move we leave it where it is.
Leave it where it is. So that line will be $45,000, correct?
Do you want a dollar on the next line or just zero it out?
I kind of lost the train of thought here. Why don't we leave the line open? Why don't you populate it with a dollar? And then,
Which line is that?
that'd be
82.
the very next line. So,
The maintenance, the
Yeah.
equipment repairs one?
yeah, it basically says, so then if they make a determination that that should be on that line, then they would have the wherewithal to do it.
Oh,
That
no,
makes
I
sense.
see what you mean, leave it there. That'd be
Leave a
good.
buck, just to establish.
You gotta leave a dollar in it then.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
If the boiler goes down, you gotta replace it, you gotta fix it.
Well, the boys and girls will be very unhappy.
So we'll count.
Yeah, I agree, that's a good idea, leave a dollar in it, and leave that line there. See how we wanna work it.
Now, according to my notes, I think that, unless you have something different, have I gone through all the expense reductions here?
Yes.
Jason, you had an ad that we talked about yesterday.
Oh, there's one ad, you are correct.
Which is?
That is under, it'll be under telephone expense. Let me find the number here. 068, telephone expense. I have to add $1,150 to that, bringing that line total to $8,150. Reason being is, we have a new server, all our data gets back to the server, from that server, it's a smaller server, it goes to the cloud. Okay, so that's where everything is stored in the cloud, because it's cheap. That's good, all except for our upload speed is only at 1.5. It needs to be at least at 3, if not 5. We're antiquated, it hasn't been updated in a while, so working with Fairpoint and the IT department, called them, it's gonna be about another $117 a month to get the upload speed where we need to be. Because what's happened is we've been hacked a couple of times, and when we have to shut down one of our drivers and repopulate what we had, all our data is not getting pushed fast enough to the cloud. So it's pushing data back where it needs to be at the speed we need it to be at, so we can save all our stuff. We have recently lost data and had some issues.
So you're looking for what, 1,000 something more?
$1,150.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
you mentioned Fairpoint. You don't have Comcast or Time Warner, you're using dial-up, you're using DSL?
Not sure, we have a contract with Fairpoint over there. Thus, I think this is why they're, with
They
the
can't give you,
fiber optic, will be helpful. But yeah, so,
I don't think Fairpoint can give you that much bandwidth.
they said they could, I mean, it would take 10 days to get it up, and we'll be up and going.
Makes it 3 banks?
Yeah, 3, 5. It also increases the download speed automatically with it, which we're not having an issue with. We're having severe issues with the upload speed.
I agree, that sounds fast for Fairport, but they say they can do it. Maybe they have a conditional line, I don't know.
All right, listen, it is what it is.
Save us some
I
buying out
move to
server.
increase that line to 8,200.
All right, well, 8150, right, that's what he wants. You want to give him an extra $50? You're very generous.
Yeah, it just.
What's
round-
come over you?
Round numbers.
You know?
They're gonna move it all around anyway.
You know?
I'll take that 50 bucks.
All right. Okay, I believe we have identified all the,
Has that been bought?
what, the 82?
82?
Yeah. We would not argue with you, Frank. Anyone else, you know, if we would. but
No,
no. And I know this is tedious, but now what I want to do is I want to go over this one more time, line by line, and then we'll put this to bed, okay? So, excuse me for being tedious, but better to do it now than later. All right, is everybody on page 24?
Yeah.
Okay, overtime line. Coming in at 42,000, they actually spent last year 46.
And the previous 2 years were like 41 and 40, so it's on average.
Okay, now,
Yeah, but 2 years ago, you only spent 29.
What year was that?
they spent 46 in
Talk about 2012.
2012.
2012, it was 29, then it went to 41, then 46.
Now, your overtime includes people going to the academy.
Includes going to the
Filling in
academy.
those positions, right?
Includes, yeah, all coverages for vacation, holiday, sick, FMLA, people that are in the military, hospital duties, hospital details. Each year it can fluctuate depending on how many hospital duties we have to do. So every year it's up and down. And there's a couple different thoughts. You look at like Stratford County, they only budget $35,000 for overtime. Man, they spend $200,000 in overtime. They just have moving money around. Their budget's consistent for past umpteen years of $35,000, and they average spending about $200,000. So
All right,
it's,
let me-
it's one of those things.
So let me throw something out here. And, I'm anticipating a full delegation review of this particular line. Now, let's make another assumption that the contract for the jail goes through, where you now have a step process, and the whole intent of that really was to help out your retention, which I think it will. So I think if you're going to ask the delegation to approve that contract, I think there needs to be a little bit of room in the overtime line, which is a recognition that your retention, you're expecting some type of retention improvement. Even if it's a 10% or 20% improvement in your overall 50% loss rate, it should translate into something. I'm just throwing this out now, on your overtime line.
It might, it depends on, again,
Yeah.
it depends on if a couple staff members also go on FMLA, if, depending on who's sick, hospital duties that year. Also, when the contract goes up, that means they make a little more when it comes to overtime, so that always factors into the overtime expense too. I hope that it goes down, I just don't make any guarantees it goes down. It depends on those type of issues that come up.
Jason, how many new staff members need to go to the academy? And how many academies are held a year?
4 now a year.
4
We
years.
just sent two,
So you send
two more.
two each time?
Yeah, well, depending on staffing, yes,
Well,
we try.
that's where the overtime is gonna fill in for those positions that are away for, how many weeks?
5 weeks, yes and no. I mean, we always don't send two. If we're down like 4 or 5 staff members we're gonna be able to hire, we may not send somebody or maybe only send one, because we can only absorb so many spots and balancing out that overtime. So it depends on what we have. But still uncertified, after these two go, it's actually 6 more after that big number. So after these two go to academy, there'll be 6 left that are uncertified. 2 that we just hired that I'm gonna go after and get their certification back. They were certified in New Hampshire at one time, so I won't have to pay for them for their certification or the academy, which will be good.
I'm just thinking of overtime.
Yep, so,
Representative McCarthy?
Yeah, I read through the contract last night just to reinstitute my memory with what was in there. And on the overtime, I remember reading something about, and I don't recall exactly what it said, but is there something where individuals who are higher up in the hierarchy can take overtime, or they get a first choice? I got it.
no,
No, anybody can take overtime.
it's good when the contract has an overtime list. Everybody's on that list. It's called through in order. When you take overtime or mandated, you go to the bottom of that list. And then we start calling with the next person who took it. So it's everybody gets an equal opportunity. It is not low man totem pole. It is not the person most seniority can keep taking over and over again. It is a fair list that has gone through. And it's your mandate list. Some people don't want overtime, but they're gonna stay atop that mandate list till their turn.
It said it in there. There are people who don't, but they have to take it once in a while,
Yes.
whether they want to or not. Okay, so the reason I ask is because I know that the nursing home was doing that. They claimed it was in the contract and it wasn't, but a registered nurse is getting something like $70,000 or $80,000 a year, where a practical nurse is getting $35,000. But the registered nurses were taking all the overtime. So we were paying $100 and something thousand, $108,000 to some of the nurses because of all the overtime they were getting, when the practical nurses could have been doing the same thing for maybe $50,000.
And I've seen contracts like that seniority gets to take the overtime. Ours is not like that. It is equal amongst all of them to go through the list.
Okay.
Listen, I don't want to beat this to death, but like I say, well, let me throw a number out here. And the reason I'm saying this is because I think it's going to frankly be an easier sell if we can show a little bit of movement on this line. Frankly, if you get to the end of the year, and it hasn't worked out, I mean, you know, you have avenues open to you to, you know, to come back to the delegation and, you know, where we can shift some money around. But I'd like to see this, because when I'd like to talk to it, to show some movement on that side, in addition to what we're doing on the other side. So I'd like to say, I'd like to see that go down to about 40. And that basically represents a reduction probably from what you actually spend. I don't have a calculator, but I'm
We spent
thinking it's
46,000.
12% or
Yeah.
whatever. Which I think is attainable. But, you know, again, if you're really gonna choke on it, I'll leave it. But I think it might be to your advantage to take it down a little bit.
Again,
The only thing I have to say about that is that last year you moved around, I think it was, I don't know, 13, 15 appropriations, totaling, I don't know, $160,000. And, yeah, 13 appropriations exceeded for $160,000 total. Anyway, there's a bill before the House right now, and it's already passed the committee. And I think it'll pass the House on Wednesday. That'll require the commissioners to get written permission from the delegation prior to moving any money from one appropriation to another. So that's gonna, you know, you're gonna have to really be diligent, and you're gonna have to look at these figures and really come up with true figures, you know, and not have it in the, I'm not saying you do, but there are those who have it in the back of your mind, it's all right, I won't worry about it because I can always get it from somewhere else. That's not gonna happen anymore.
No, actually, our concern is, we make the budget so tight, I don't know where to pull it from. Like, I was over by $13,000 in my budget last year, because there's no place to pull it from. Because when I came in the tail end of last year, helping out with the budget, with the past superintendent, that, well, that's delegation or anybody else, that make this so tight, there is not any wiggle room when things come up on. Medical for the inmates was over by $45,000. You know, so that's why I tried to increase that in anticipation of that. There is not a lot of movement in these budgets, so it's not like we're fluffing it up. If you look at each year, it's scraping by. We didn't even scrape by this past year.
Well, I would rather see that figure stay at 42 than have to move something to fill it in. But if you think you're gonna live with 40, that's fine.
Well,
No, he didn't say that.
You didn't say that.
The chairman is recommending 40. It's you three that are determining what that's gonna be, not Jason. He put it in there, meaning that that's what he needed.
All right, why don't we do this? Why don't we leave it at 42? Let's move on. Part-time salaries, we have nothing.
What'd you do with that? Where did you put that?
It wasn't a line that existed. I thought about putting it in there to exist it, but it's been being paid out of the regular salary line, so I put it back where it was out of regular salary lines. So,
But you don't have anybody on part-time?
a couple. Just a couple that they're kind of like a fill-in, like a substitute teacher, call them in here and there.
Okay. Line 7, administrative salaries. And you've now broken this out. So why don't you, for the benefit of everyone here, why don't you talk about how you broke it out a little differently?
Administrative salaries are the non-union folks over at the jail, and then all this, where it says salaries are everybody that's in the union, which is from the sergeants down.
Say that again, the administrative salaries are people that are not covered by the contract?
Correct. Non-union people.
And that's
Yeah,
who?
that includes yourself?
Myself, the captain, lieutenant, maintenance.
So that's in administration?
Yes.
And nurses?
Nurses are in their own, something, nurses are in
Different
nursing.
category.
They're in the nurses line.
And what was that?
Nurses are in nursing line. They're all
They're
there.
non-union.
Yeah, that's
but
separate.
Yeah.
Different line.
Yeah.
Now, the nursing line, we've had this discussion, so just bear with me here. Were we short a nurse? Because we ended last year at, say, 155,000 in nursing salaries, and now we're back to 200. Are we adding a nurse, or
No,
were we short a nurse?
We were short a nurse, throughout the year using part-time and fill-ins and overtime. Their line for medical covers everything. That is their part-time people, that is their overtime, that is the nurses. So, knock on wood, hopefully by the end of next week, we will actually be up to full staffing on the nursing department. Again, that fluctuates a little bit here and there, because people taking time off and stuff. I can tell you our 2 nurses that we've had that have been consistent have not been able to take any time off whatsoever per se, except they were sick. So I know that we'll use a little bit more of the money this coming year so they can actually have some time off. Their numbers on the books are very high for the vacation sick because they were worried not coverage. This county in general has a hard time getting nurses. Jail, no different. We're having a difficult time.
Nurses at the jail are more difficult than at the nursing home.
Really? Take a minute, Mr.
People just
Chairman.
don't want to do it over.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just curious. The last time I was here, we had that problem that I just mentioned about the nursing home we had in the jail. All of the nurses were RNs, making big money, and they had 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it was. We tried to get them down to one nurse, the head nurse, an RN, and the rest of them practical nurses. The budget was something like over $400,000 at that time. They went to a contract, remember? They did away with some of the nurses, they went to a contract, I think it was for $50,000 a year. People came in once or twice a week or whatever, and they administered the drugs and things like that. Now we're back to $200,000 for nurses. What happened?
In the jail? What
Yeah.
you're talking about? No, I think your point was, why hire an RN when we can get by with an LPN? And I think that's what you're doing.
We only have one RN, we only have one RN,
Only
which
one
which
RN,
you have to
okay.
have an RN, has to be oversee the LPN, so everybody else is an LPN.
Yeah.
One RN is in charge of the department. We don't, and if we do hire another RN, like we have another RN that just came on board, and LPN pay. I can't offer RN pay, I don't have it in my budget. So if they want to come to the jail as an RN, God bless them. The one we just hired on nights is an RN, but at LPN pay.
But do we still have that contract in effect with that medical company that they were coming up here a couple of days a week, and
With the jail.
that was supposed to take over half the duties or 3/4 of the duties of the nurses?
We don't have a contract with anybody coming up here, and it would cost us more money because we need full-time coverage. It's not they can come up 1 or 2 days a
But
week.
you have a doctor, right?
We have a doctor, yes. We have a contract with a doctor, but not the nurses.
Right.
Nurses are
Well,
full-time staff members.
At the time, Commissioner Babson was the chairman of the committee, so maybe he'll remember more. Evidently, that contract is no longer in effect.
We have only contract I know of is with the doctor, not with the nurses. The nurses have, as long as I've been here.
No, it wasn't nurses, it was,
You know what I mean?
This was with a doctor.
The cap's been there 10 years, there's been no contract with the nurses. It's only a doctor contract. We've had
yeah, it
nurses on
wasn't,
staff.
not with the nurses, it was a contract for medical personnel. Come in and,
That would be the doctor. The doctor
That's
comes
the
in.
doctor.
That's the doctor. We have PA comes in, twice a month?
Yeah, I think that was like,
PA comes in twice a month, and then the regular doctor comes in once a month. That is the contract with them.
no, that's not the one I'm talking about. They came in once or twice a week. And they were, I remember distinctly that in the first couple of months they were here, we saved $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 just on medication.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I think we're talking about a doctor, not a nurse. We only have one RN that we are paying RN.
Correct. And to understand the doctors, what I got from the doctor contract that we have, the previous before that, we were spending a lot of money on medications, that kind of stuff.
Right.
The superintendent went out and got a contract with his doctor, which has reduced significantly the
Medication.
cost of our medication and those going out to the hospital.
Right.
So maybe if you think about that, that has caused a significant reduction. And the company we have just picked up Grafton County and a few other counties, because same thing. They're decreasing what the med costs are and those going out to the hospital, and we can treat in-house, and it doesn't necessarily have to be done.
They cut out all our opiates, so that's what the big savings was.
All right, well, anyway, we're probably not there anymore, I don't know. I'll find out what happened with it. I think Commissioner Babson will probably remember. Anyway, how many nurses do you have now?
3.
3 nurses.
And a
And
couple
then what?
and part-timers, but.
You're only part-time.
No, we have part-timers to fill in when they have days off and stuff. We have a full-time RN and then 2 LPNs.
Covering how many hours?
Uh,
2 shifts?
Yeah, basically 2 shifts, the day shift and then till 11 o'clock at night, Monday through, 11 o'clock Monday through Friday, 3 to 11, we have from 11 o'clock. Day shift is 7 to 7, including weekends. Weekends only go 7 to 7. We don't have a nurse on after that, which again is, a lot of your jails are 24 hours on nursing. We don't, so if somebody has an issue, we basically have to they'll call the nurse, and who may call the doctor, but since they're not there, they'll basically turn around and tell you to call the ambulance.
I got another question. Now, we're taking in people, boarders, from another jail. Are there any requirements that say we have to have a nurse on duty 24 hours?
No, it's up to
Does
our.
the other county that we're getting these people from
Yeah, only
have
one-
somebody on duty 24 hours?
No, there's no requirements from them.
Okay.
Whatever our jail does is whatever we do.
Okay.
They just pay for the medical bill. All the boarders, we don't pay their medical bill.
Good move.
We just send them a bill.
So line 9 here, the salary line. Now, is this a combination of the lines above it? So we're looking at the total salaries for everybody?
Nope, you're looking at total salaries from the sergeants down, everybody that's in the union. Last year, when you had administrative salaries, the year before, it was, the sergeants were still considered as part of the non-union staff, and they're now back in the contract, so salaries has gone up because it reflects the sergeants down, so in the salary line.
So what I'm trying to get at here is, at the end of 14, right? So if I want to get the total salary dollars, I would add the overtime, the administrative salaries, part-time salaries, administrative salary, nursing salaries, and salaries. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Who's got a calculator? What is that?
$1,550,131.
1.55 million, let's just round it down. And for this year, let's go with the 42, the 267, the 200, and the 1.130, which is what?
$163,974.
So let's say 1.64. That's 1,640,000.
Correct.
So that's an increase of, what, $109,000, am I correct there?
If you have two numbers, yes.
And that represents a percentage increase of what? I'm just not as high as I thought, actually.
What'd you say that?
It's the 1.55 or the 1.64, what's the percentage increase?
It's either 1.55 and on the 1.64 and drop to 1. That would be your increase.
Drop to 1, so 4%?
Yep.
What is it?
4?
4% increase?
Okay. Like I say, I don't think the subcommittee is the place to debate pros and cons of that at the moment, so why don't we just move on? All right, Social Security line, I guess that's a given. That came out of the business office, I assume?
Yes.
The mental health salary we zeroed out because that went where? That went back into where? Medical insurance? Where did that disappear?
That's, but that has been zero. They had somebody on staff.
Where'd it go?
Which line you're talking about, the mental health line?
Yeah,
Yeah.
9/11.
11.
Yeah. 11 has been zeroed out.
You have a contract with.
We have a contract which is down on the
Northern
medical, which is under the mental health salary.
Which is down on line 27.
Yes. That's a contract.
Okay.
Do you have the number of that contract per year?
The contract itself is 31,500 something. That's what the contract is. The rest of the part of that, it was the psychologist that we sent to that big bucks. We have a contract with him too for like $250 an hour, $50 for 15 minutes, whatever. And so depends on how much we use him per year.
On call.
He's on call, yes. We don't pay for him on call, but when we have to use him, which we do, which we have a lot of mental health issues, when they get to a point where the contract we have only comes in 2 days a week for 14 hours. So if he's there and it's something he can deal with, great. If he can't, we go to the next step. And if this guy's also not on staff, we may have to go to the next step as well too with mental health. I know what you think. A little more money come down the road, I can probably get him full-time on staff and we'd get a lot more accomplished. Maybe that's next year.
I would just think that, there's most likely a lot of mental health issues in the jail, and
Time. It was a long-term plan for us. We'd like to come next year to the table and ask for him as a full-time person because we're only talking less than probably $9,000 more for salary, used to be the benefits, to have a full-time person instead of 14 hours we're getting for $31,000. But that'll be next year because we're still on a contract.
At medical insurance, we spoke about.
I think we should speak about it again though for just a second.
Sure.
What Jason has in his budget, he is assuming that, you have a difference between a single plan and a family plan, and his assumption here is that if he hires new people, they're going to take the same plan their previous employees had. If you look at HR's number for the jail, they're budgeting, or they have a number of $406,000. The difference is 2 family plans. So it makes it, and again, we talk about trying to keep the number within each line item and control it. When you talk about one employee coming in can either cost us $9,000 or $24,000 depending on what insurance plan they take. This makes it extremely difficult to control that line item. So Jason is right. If he goes out and hires somebody and they take the same identical plan that the employees had last year, if we get 2 new family plans, that line item is going to go up to $406,000. So it's just an issue that we have to deal with here. those are big numbers, so when one employee can make the difference between 9,000 and 24,000, just depending on the insurance plan they have, it makes it extremely difficult for us to peg that number and then hold to it till the end of the year.
And that's what the business office gives you, is a snapshot of what everybody's at right now.
Yeah.
Right.
But right, if any changes, it's significant changes. So Belmont County went through with their insurance, they had a few people change, had to go in front of delegation about moving it, and there was a whole rigmarole
So-
there.
I mean, we can leave that number and hope for the best, but again, if we get 2 employees in here that go in the family plan,
Yeah, kiss you goodbye.
yeah. So I just wanted to make that noted as we're going through this.
Okay. What's your pleasure, gentlemen? You want to roll the dice, or do you want to increase it?
I'd say leave it as it is.
Yeah, let's roll the dice then.
Before we go past this, I just had a question. What would be the worst-case scenario? And should we know what that number is?
The number that
I wouldn't
HR
want
is.
to say worst-case scenario.
Well, worst case, if everybody took a family plan, would be your worst case
No.
scenario.
The number that HR is using, they're assuming that if the 2 new hires took the family plan, that number would be $406,000, $406,191.
But if there were more, that'd be worst case scenario if everybody took a family plan.
But you can't budget worst case, so, that's why I'm kind of going HR's semi-worst case. It's not current, it's, the what if we hire 2 more, not everybody in family, so.
So should we bump this up to?
Yeah.
Well, the difference between a single and a family is 6,000, right?
No.
From 18 to 24?
Well, I'll let,
It's about 13,000.
Pardon?
13,000.
yeah.
Between a
13.
single plan and a family plan,
What is the single plan?
6,000. Paid by the county. 8,000 for 2-person, 19,000, almost 20,000, 19,800, 20,000 for a family plan. That's where the problem lies. If we hire somebody with a family, but we're only budgeting for a single person, then we gotta come up with an additional $14,000.
Single person is only 8,000.
6.
6.
2-person is 8. Family is 20. Under the new plan.
Yeah, and that's under the
That's a new
rates.
plan.
If the contract, as the entire, as Representative McConkey had made the motion to vote down the contracts, if you vote down the contracts, we go back to the status quo, and the total would be 457,000 versus the 406 for those with the two extras that I would recommend, because you never know during the year even if somebody changes. And in a bigger department, you don't really realize that, but even in a smaller department, I'm a department of 2. My employee took the family plan after just a few months. You know what my budget looks like? My budget is totally blown with the change that is absolutely available for the employees. However, for the budgets, we need to have that
Flexibility.
possibility that the 2 people that we hire, that we've just made offers to, we can't, and that's discrimination. If we ask them, you're gonna take the family plan or you're gonna be single? Well, we'll hire you if you're single. We can't do that. So, rolling the dice is one thing, but giving that ability to have just those 2 as a family plan would help him not
The last 3
overspend
we
his
just,
budget.
the last 3 we just hired a family, so I'm assuming they're gonna take family plan.
Yeah,
Just throwing it out there.
the last 2.
So you could be short $26,000.
It could be.
Just right off the bat.
Again, it's like
those
you
2
said, it's a
people.
tough one. It's variable.
So where do you,
No,
Frank, where do you make up $26,000 in this budget? Yeah, that's just off the top of my head. I don't know where you'd make it up. You don't either.
Where he said he's so tight and everything is so close, that's just 2 people, and having that flexibility in there.
As Commissioner Miller says, though, that we can leave it as it is, but the understanding is that if we go over, will be back to you to try to find some money, maybe not in his department, maybe in another department, but that's up to the delegation. That's the alternative.
All right, let's leave it open for the moment, or ponder that and come back to it.
Okay.
Line 13, retirement expense. It's another business office, I assume.
Yeah.
And, Workers' comp didn't go up for a change?
Business office said no.
That retirement, that's ridiculous. Quarter of this, it equals a quarter of the total salaries.
Yeah. Unemployment tax, another given we can't do anything about. And dental insurance. Yeah,
9,900, why is that? That's twice what the normal usage for the last 3 years.
That's because it's a benefit to the employee that's at no cost to the employee for a single plan. It's about $200 per year, paid for by the county, and more people are taking that plan. That's why you're over by $911.98 last year, and anticipated going up because downtown's important. Keep them coming to work. So we anticipate
How many
100%
are
of
on
the
it?
staff can
How many
take-
are on it right now?
off the top of my head, off right now, I don't know, but I anticipate 100% of people getting on it.
Who knows that information?
So you're saying less than half are on it now?
More than half, actually.
Are on it, yes.
Yes, a little more than half right now.
Okay, well then why would you double it? If
Again,
more than half of them are already on it.
to fully fund it is $9,900, and anticipate the rest of the staff getting on it, because remember, we have high turnover rate, and some people are not off their probation yet to get it. As soon as they get off their probation, I'm sure they're going to be getting it. So that would be cover a benefit that is at no cost to the employee, that they also do sign a piece of paper, and they have that benefit for their teeth, so.
Question becomes, why wouldn't they take it, I suppose?
That's right, unless they are on their spouses.
There's no cost to.
Even on spouses, you can still have it, and you can do dual.
Dual?
I'm on my wife's, I can, when I go to the dentist, I can use hers and mine, so if I have things done, it doesn't cost me much. Yep.
This one only covers about $1,500 for a,
Cleanings and stuff doesn't cover caps, so crowns.
Basically, just do cleanings.
it's 2 cleanings a year,
Mhm.
and I think it's $1,500 for a root canal, or to go towards a root canal.
Mhm.
Is that with Northern, Eastern? Dental?
It's limited to that, isn't it, 1,500?
Yeah. Yep.
Elder dental, yeah.
Yes.
You had a question, Ed?
Northern Eastern Dental, that's what I want.
Oh,
Delta
okay.
dental.
Oh, Delta Dental.
Delta Dental.
But you're saying during their probationary period, they're not on this, is that the deal?
Correct. Your benefit does.
What's your probationary period?
6 months. New contract goes through, 1 year, but the insurance is different, they still.
Actually, yeah, insurance is different. Well, with the Affordable Care Act, we have to offer it before the 90-day time frame. So it's
3 months.
yeah, they aren't able to get on until that time frame. The dental is the same thing. They can't get on until they have met their more than 60 days, but less than 90 days.
You said half were on it. Do we know the number?
I do. I don't
You
have
have
it
it.
with me, but
Thank you.
we would be able to tell you who's on it. Or how many, I
How
should
many?
say.
I'm surprised they're not more than that.
Well, I can tell you that for years, the education of staff, understanding benefits and those kinds of things, from what I understand from being here, have not been well-educated. HR is now doing training sessions, like especially audit said, more trainings and that kind of stuff. So employees know what their benefits are. And the more healthy they are, the more times they come to work. So staff is getting educated and understanding these things. And we're, as an administration, also helping them understand.
And a lot of our employees, their spouses work, and where they may have a better dental package than what we offer.
They didn't realize you could double dip.
Probably most of them don't. You know, that's something that they understand. It's dental, it's fine with them, because you have two plans, they bill both plans.
I'm surprised to do that.
But under the union contract, so you're saying that the employee still has to take a positive step of signing up for the dental plan, even though it's a given benefit?
If they don't want it, they don't have to take it, but it's in
This
their
is-
contract.
It's a separate plan from the health insurance.
Right. Okay. Any other questions on that? All right, education and training.
We already moved that one down, didn't we?
Moved it, yeah.
And that's the Relias.
No.
It worked in there. No, it's
So, Reliance is a contract that goes under other fees and services.
Medicare expense, whatever that is.
Going back to education and training, I remember something in the contract that said the maximum amount allowed is 2,500.
Correct.
Is that per person?
No, 2,500 total. If they go to take a class, it's not per person, it's per, when that money's exhausted, $2,500.
But that's up to the superintendent.
Correct. It's in part of the union contract. If they take a class, it's specific in there of, they take a class and what, it has to be towards something that is towards corrections basically, and they have to get the grade that they get. Max of $2,500, that's the total pot. That's the total kitty.
And where does the other 7,500 go?
Training and conferences, like I'm heading out to AJA conference, so that covers that. You have Primex conference, you have the National Association of Conferences. We have trainings throughout the state that we'll send people to. So it goes to all of our education. It can be all over the place. We're sending Lieutenant Phillips hopefully to T4C, which is his class he teaches, thinking for a change to become an instructor. So it covers all that.
We're encouraging employees to take advantage of educational
Yeah, of
programs.
course, I would too.
I mean, it's the better us as a county, better the individual,
Goes towards retention.
keeps up the morale.
Now, these courses they can take that's covered by that 2,500, they have to be germane to their job
Yes.
in some way or another, right?
Yes. And they have to keep, I have to look in there, there's a grade point average they have to keep too, so it's not just, I failed the course, can I have the money? No.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, yes.
do they have to stay? Or you can't make a request or something?
No, it's in the contract, it has been in the contract, it's just that they take a class. And it's something that would benefit the jail that they're taking towards.
They have to
reimbursement.
maintain a B average.
Things would be average, yeah.
The other thing is that one of the comments from the entire delegation, as well as the performance audit, was the exit interviews. And we have been diligently trying to get everyone who is leaving, get an exit interview from them. And one of the things that is continually mentioned, obviously the pay, but it's training. And, you know, for them to be able to get more training. So to cut that or to even reduce it more would be kind of going against, you know, just the whole retention, trying to find out why they're not staying. So that would be really important for them to still have that ability to take advantage of, not just the 2,500 in their contract, but other trainings that, as the superintendent said, that they're able to go to.
All right. Legal fees we've discussed. Medical services and supplies, I believe we have discussed. Medical doctor expense,
That's the contract.
that's a contract. Actually, the two lines, it's a slight reduction from what you spent last year. Okay.
Which one is that, sir?
If you look at the medical services and supplies, and
Yes.
medical doctor, if you add them all together, there's a slight reduction from the 186,000 that they actually spent on medical services on 12/31. This is your inmate medical expenses, is that what I'm looking at?
Yes, correct. That line covers, yeah, all the doctor's visits, dentist visits, all supplies need, all medications, everything for the inmates underneath there for anything to do with medical.
And that's the one you got clobbered on last year.
That was about $45,347.92 over what was budgeted. We had some significant medical issues, some emergency surgeries, that were specialist surgeries that we didn't want to, we had no choice.
Okay, Jason, when you check in an inmate, do you check to see if they have private insurance?
Yes,
And if they do,
try to go after private insurance. And if they have
we charge the
Medicaid,
private insurance.
if they have Medicaid, go after that, but after they're there for like, well, they can keep their Medicaid until they're sentenced. Once they're sentenced, Medicaid goes away. That's
Yeah.
one of the bills going in now, they're trying to keep that, they can keep their Medicaid even if they're sentenced, which would also be a reduction for us.
That's the one that's going in and washing the bill to make sure that the insurance continues after they've been sentenced. Right now, once they've been sentenced, they lose their insurance. We pick up the bill.
Why would they?
That's just what the law is. Once they're convicted, Medicaid stops. And what we do now is 30 days before they leave, we have one of the hospitals coming in and signing them up for Medicaid if they're eligible, so they can back out in the community, get some services. If they come back in again, which does happen, they'll be on Medicaid if they're still pretrial. Also, the state did do with the insurance, they only have to pay, we have to pay 125% of the Medicaid rate, which is also reduced what we pay. And when they don't give us that rate, we have a nice letter that's sent to them, and they take care and reduce it. Most of the hospitals now are on board, the doctors are on board. They've got enough letters from superintendents around the state, they all get that law now, the RSA that's there. If they're over, in the hospital now, over 24 hours, and there is also, we can apply for money to see if that they'll pay for that time that they're in the hospital as well, too. So there's some avenues that we are working with and trying to make sure we're on top of.
It'd be good that if representatives wrote to the senators know about it. The two senators in Washington, we've talked with them and they've submitted the bill. But it would be good to write a letter to them, or if they come to a meeting here in Carroll County, talk to them about it, tell them, hey, this is costing the county taxpayers a lot of money once these people are sentenced. We need to get that bill changed. They're aware of it, and I think they signed on to the bill in Washington.
It'll be very helpful.
Kelly Mayotte and Jean Shaheen, yeah. I'm not sure about the representatives.
Well, we could also do a House concurrent resolution.
Well,
Asking them
That's your
to
business.
approve that.
It's something that needs to be
So if I
done.
need my hip transplant, I should break a window and, it'd be,
Or if you don't want to pay your heating bill, throw a brick through a window and
Keep
you'll
in
end up in
mind,
jail.
we got a doctor now, but it's not emergency medically necessary.
No.
You might get denied.
Yeah.
It's happened years ago, it didn't happen.
One heart issue and that whole budget could be gone, you know.
Okay, inmate programs we talked about. Other fees and services we talked about at the 62 level. The academy, we're in for 4,000, which is a $1,500 increase, but you're expecting, this is what you actually spent in the prior year.
Yeah. And that's because the academy
So
started.
you're looking, that's what, sending 8 people? Is that?
What is the fee? 500? 500.
And that's because that academy wasn't scheduled to right at the beginning of the next year. We would have spent that if they'd set it up. I would have spent that, so.
I think office supplies is less than what you actually spent, and you talked about that. Dues, licenses, subscriptions, that looks okay to me. Postage, I don't think there's any debate on, it's up a little bit. Other supplies, we reduced that 3,000, we spoke about that already. Supplies from the nursing home, we zeroed that line out. We have the chaplain line of $1,500, but we still don't have a chaplain, right?
Lieutenant Phillips is talking to someone, so we hope to snag a chaplain. That would be great.
The meals we had spoken about, and that was a slight reduction of $6,000. Uniform expense is up very slightly from what you actually spent last year, less than $100. So I don't see an issue with that. Inmate clothing expense is up quite a bit, actually, from what you spent. But you...
Well, we overspent. You didn't spend much last year. Why was that? You only spent $1,740, and the year before that you spent $11,000. Well, bless you. It was only budgeted for $3,200 last year. Again, that was the
Right.
budget I adopted. We spent $102.02 over, and we are.
Because that's what I'm not seeing. I'm
Yep.
showing $1,740 is what you actually spent. Am I missing something here?
You must have missed something. We spent $3,302.02 on inmate clothing.
Isn't there bedding in there somewhere?
That is a separate line now. I was asked to break that out.
From 2,700 all the way to 11,000, and then back down to 1,700. On a yo-yo, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I said, it wasn't here for that. It shouldn't be on a yo-yo. It should be more consistent. Like I said, we didn't have any more money left in the line, and we're just scraping by right now. Commissioner Babson came over and talked to the staff how bad the inmate laundry situation is right now. And then the delegation asked me to is also to split this out to inmate bedding and mattresses. That's why you see the $2,885.72, which is towels,
Right.
their mattresses, which are expensive, your suicide smocks are expensive, suicide blankets, those kinds of things are in there.
Okay, I asked you to split that out, so, so it makes sense to me.
So none of those are changing, right?
No. And the electronic monitoring
Is down.
is down.
There's a couple of reasons for that. One, we switched to a company, which might be a hair cheaper. Two, as it stands right now, we're more pretrial than sentence, so if, my hope is maybe as it balance out, might go up some point. But again, that also ties into revenue, because we make back the money on the revenue end from the electronic monitoring, so it washes that out. Your hope is washes it out.
We spoke about electric expense, and we spoke about heating expense, and we spoke about the telephone. The next one is laundry expense, which is
Same.
actually a slight reduction from what you spent last year.
And that's subject to population. Last year was a big push at the beginning of the year and it dropped off, so.
The counties pay for the borders laundry? No, we pay for the laundry for the borders.
Okay, travel expense is
You know,
it's almost, I guess you didn't do much traveling in 2014. You actually spent 1,584 and you're going to 3.
yes, wasn't a lot of traveling. Because also all the education and conferences, we took $6,000 out to pay for Relias, so there was really no way to really do traveling. There's no money left.
And the vehicle leads, we don't have any, so you zero that line out.
Correct.
Vehicle expense is 10. And that's almost a reduction of $4,000 what you actually spent, so.
Because we put the blue lights in last year. Or no, we don't need to put them in this year.
Say again?
We put blue lights in the cruisers last year. That was that 4,000, so they're in. We don't need to pay for it again.
Okay. Generator expense is, I guess that's what, maintenance on your generator?
It's a contract on the for the generator. To run the maintenance on it.
Maintenance contract?
Yeah.
For the generator.
Rubbish removal is slightly up, but no big deal, I guess. Let me ask you a question though, why? At the end of 13, we spent almost $8,500 and then it's significantly down. What happened there? Obviously, some expense shifted somewhere.
Yeah.
Weird. Where you at?
Seems to be line 80, rubbish removal.
Yeah.
That just caught my eye. We spent almost $8,500 in 13.
Did you have an outside company? Because I know that it's is it Devin taking the trash now? You guys did something, it's the trash removal. Like,
I'm all for the lower amount, don't get me
Was it an
wrong.
outside company was doing before and now is it being done in-house? Is that what it is? You guys changed something, that's why it went down.
I know, I'm trying to think. Commissioner Babson made some agreements with trash removal people. I don't know what it was, I don't remember what it was.
Whatever it was, it's down tremendously.
Yeah.
As long as you're okay with it.
You're taking the trash away, so.
Right.
It's not piling up.
We spoke about the building maintenance and the equipment repairs. Water usage, I guess, is a given. Photocopier expense is consistent with last year.
We are gonna be looking at a
Countywide.
contract to do all the photocopying equipment. Have one contract rather than individual ones.
Good. Property liability insurance, I guess that's a business office add-on you get, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Commissioner, is the liability insurance, isn't that covered, don't you have a blanket protection for every? You do?
Yeah, I think it's assigned to each department.
Yeah, they break it down, each department pays their slice of the pie.
But it's all on one policy
Yeah.
to save
Yeah.
a few bucks, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Firearm training and equipment, that's down a couple thousand for what you actually spent, so, you okay with that?
Well, it went from 0 and 12 and 13 up to 7,000. It jumped 7,000 in 1 year.
That's because the security force came on where we do our own transports and are armed, do our own transport, so.
That was a new item.
Gotta help me out with this one. And then line 96, firearms training equipment, less lethal equipment, and then we have 3,300. What is that?
Less than lethal. Less than lethal is your tasers, your taser cartridges, pepper ball rounds, pepper
Okay.
spray.
Okay. So this would be for the purchase of, or?
Yes.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Okay.
Here's another equipment, new equipment. What kind of equipment are you talking about? New equipment for a car, new equipment for a house?
It's on, that was given to you guys. It's listed underneath the sheets that I gave you, broken out what the new equipment is, the first initial package. But it's handcuffs, duty belts, red man suits. It's all for the training department, basically. It is not for car, it's not for those things. It's under, the new equipment is under training department equipment. All our stuff for accoutrements for your Class A uniforms, the buttons, those kinds of things we take out of there.
Yeah, but all of that comes in the contract under the uniform.
Yeah, some of that, well, yes, and all that, that's up my budget there, so it's new equipment.
Could you say it's training equipment?
I can say it's training equipment.
Take out the new, just put training equipment, so that's what it's specified for, is for training?
Well, let me get back to new equipment, line 97. So that would include your handcuffs, your whatever.
Duty belts. All those kinds of
Yeah,
things.
but all of that is required in the contract under the uniform allowance. So, you know, are they,
It's never been taken out of the uniform allowance, like they just tell you that much. It's always been taken out of new equipment, duty belts, handcuffs, everything else taken out of new equipment. Uniform is just that, just the uniform which says that the 3 pairs of pants, the 2 polo shirts, the Class A uniforms, the baseball cap. The other stuff we do give them, yes, but it's not under the uniform. It is under, has been under equipment.
you say so.
Well, that kind of makes sense to me because it's permanent equipment and it could be passed on.
Yes,
As
we-
opposed to,
Do you want me to change the training equipment?
uh,
New slash training, like you did on the other one.
Well, under the list of uniforms in Article 8, it has Class A pants, shirt, blah, 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 duty belt, handcuffs, case, belt keepers, flashlight, and radio case, plus 1 inner belt. Listed under uniforms in the contract.
Then we'd have to up the uniform expense. I can just, and it's been,
Well, that's my point. Is it listed twice? Does it come under uniforms?
they're not
And then it
paying,
comes under equipment too?
no, we're not paying out uniforms. Really, only we pay out uniforms would be the shirts, the pants, the hat, jacket. The new equipment has always been over there is the duty belts, the handcuffs, the pepper spray, all those other things that was come out of the new equipment.
That's not training equipment, right? That's part of the uniform.
well, new equipment, I guess. I think it's fine where it is. I don't have an issue. And last but not least, information technology, which is now a county line, I believe, right?
Yeah.
How about duty equipment? You have to wear it when they're on duty.
But also encompassed in there is too, is like, we need a replacement of a red man suit, which is so we can do our defensive tactics, batons, wear those. So some of that is also in there as well.
But that would be training equipment.
That's why I said you want new/training equipment.
It sounds better to have duty equipment and then training equipment. Because they're two different things. One's permanent, it's affixed to the person, they use it for duty, and then there's training equipment that's used to train them.
Yeah, that's why I say, this isn't training equipment, handcuffs and all, that's part of the uniform. And that's why it's on the uniform allowance list.
If you want to add those words, it's fine.
It's really not a big deal, it's a matter of semantics, as long as they're not being paid for twice, under
No.
uniforms and under equipment.
I guess everyone is going to be shocked at this, but we've actually come to the end of the expenditure line. And I think we've discussed every line, we've discussed the reductions. So what I would propose is that pending, and again, like I said earlier, I don't know what the full delegation is going to do on the contract lines, but whatever they do, they do. And hopefully we won't reinvent the wheel. But for this exercise, based upon what we just had with all the proposed reductions, I would like to accept a motion to accept the budget as we have reviewed it and modified it.
Well, the way I see it, we took off 18,800 out of what's on here right
I
now.
haven't added it up yet. That's offset by, it might even be more than that.
It might be, I might not have caught it all. Yeah, once those figures are changed, the ones we just went over, we only made a couple of changes, really. Yeah, I make a motion that we approve it for the delegation.
I would do that. Can we just get that number
Yeah.
first? I'd like to hear the number.
I took a quick look at that. We started with that overtime line. The pay increase is gonna add about $1,000 to that alone. So
What is?
the pay increase adds about $1,000 to that overtime line.
I thought the new contract salaries were already added into it.
They are, but when we talked initially about taking it from 42,000 to 40, I just wanted to tell you that it's gonna cost us about $1,000 just on the pay increase alone in that line.
If we
For
stay.
for overtime.
We're going to leave it at 42.
Okay.
But we left it at 42.
I know, if it comes up during the delegation meeting, I just wanted you to be aware that the pay increase alone is adding $1,000.
You can rest assured it will come up.
With 16,000, 16,093 and 60 cents.
What is that?
That is what we originally asked for to what it's been reduced down to.
I didn't hear.
16,093, 60 cents. And the revenue is way up.
What does the 16,093 represent?
What was originally asked for and what is
Bottom line?
bottom line.
Now, that's the net, right? That's net increases and reductions.
Yep.
You with that?
No, I'm not, I'm lost.
That's the bottom line on page 26 of the net of the increases which came from salary and all the increases that came in.
Did you want to revisit that insurance line or leave it where it is? We had discussed that already.
Let's leave it for now. It is what it is.
As long as we don't cut it anymore, we'll be all right.
I'm hiring married people.
If we only hire 14-year-olds, it'll probably.
So real quick,
Won't have a family plan.
real quick, what was the bottom line, the whole budget?
The bottom line budget, 3,397,627.42.
Thank you.
Would you say that one more time again?
3,397,627.42. 627.42. If you want to know how much it's up from the previous year, I can give you that. From last year's budget, it's up 174,325.42.
That includes what we just took off today?
Yes.
And 65,
174K is the increase from what was actually spent.
No, 174K that is from what was asked for last year. I didn't do it. Actually we spent over last year, but from what we asked from last year to this year is 174,000 more. If you want to say, wait, I spent $14,000 more on top of last year's, then you can take that 160 something instead, but.
Just lost me.
yeah,
The budget, what I gave for numbers was what we asked for last year's budget, which was the 3,223,302.
Right.
And what we're asking for this year is a 3,397,627. That is 174,325.
I see, okay.
And as we discussed, Representative Schmidt, you asked me, the non-discretionary money is about 123,326.
Of the 174.
And discretionary is around 40. And like I said, it depends how you want to look at this. Without non-discretionary, budget's up 1.5. In total, it's up 5.
3,397,627
Correct, and 42 cents.
and 42.
You dropped the 40.
Whatever the hell I.
If you take away the revenues, just so you know, total budget minus revenues, the budget is up 2%.
What was the revenue to subtract?
87,134.50 cents. So it puts if you subtract, it puts the budget at 2%.
Now, when you add up, I'm just curious, when you add up the total county revenues, do you then go back to your departments? Like, is the additional revenue here to offset jail budget, or does it go into a total county pot?
Total count.
Total county pot.
So the amount to be raised by taxes is 3,310,493. Is that correct?
3,397,627.42. Right? Unless you're taking away the revenue.
oh, you gotta take away the revenue.
Yeah, take away the revenue.
Oh, okay.
The
Oh, okay, yeah.
the amount to be raised by taxes
Okay. Yes.
To run
is
the jail.
3,310,493.
Yep. 3310492.9.
Yep, okay.
Would you say that one more time?
3310492.9.
He had to use the 50 cents.
That's to be raised by taxes, right?
Yeah. So what is the percentage then? Not on the budget, not on the amount to be raised by taxes. What is the percentage increase for this year over last? You have the computer, don't you?
Total, you want to increase this from what you asked for last year to this year?
Well, I think last year's actual, so you have to take what you asked for, plus what you actually spent last year, compare apples. I mean,
So that number would be 3,239,875. Let's make it 876. 3,239,876.
What do you get? What is that?
That's the actual dollars that were spent in 2014.
he was over budget by 14,000, right, Jason?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what he actually spent.
I don't have the latest.
5%.
Right.
Not the one, 5%,
Which includes everything.
which includes everything, yes. 2% if you,
So what did you say? What was the percentage?
5%.
Okay, we had a motion on the floor.
I'll second as long as it's clear that it's not the salary.
All in favor? Aye.
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 I said that wrong. I meant-
All right, if I could just sum up, I think we have examined it in detail. I think it's about the best we can do with it. I think we have sharpened our knives and done about as best we can with this. I think the increase in revenues is very, very good. Hopefully we're even bringing more money. We will come before the full delegation with a recommendation to accept this budget as we present it. It's about the best I can do with it. I make no predictions, but we'll go forward. I thank everyone for your participation. I thank everyone particularly for your patience. This was always an ordeal going through this. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. McConkey's not here on both budgets down. Do we want to discuss the effects of not putting this through? So you have a clear picture of what would happen if we don't?
No.
Okay.
The only reason I say no is just,
Putting what through?
trust me, we will go through that exercise
Okay. The contract.
if they turn it down. I don't know.
If I could also say that I think this committee and the participants have been very flexible. There's been good give and take. Some cases it was added, some cases it was subtracted. I think you've done an excellent job with the jail budget
So do I.
up to this point.
Thank you. I think Jason's done a great job with his budget too.
I do too.
Excellent job.
Well, I'll say it one more time, one of the most frustrating things for me in the prior 4 years was to get, frankly, yes to death and then nothing occurs, which I always found very frustrating. And to your credit, you actually followed through on what you said you were going to do in terms of that. So, good for you. And I think it's a great benefit to the county and additional revenue, and perhaps even more on the federal side. And I just view that as just good management, and so good for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Especially where you get the facility to handle it.
When do we come up with for a percentage?
5%.
5.
Up 5%.
Up 5.
From what was asked last year in the
From
employee
last year's
overspend.
actual usage.
5%. So minus the revenue, 2%.
5% minus the revenue.
If you take the revenue, it's still 2%.
So it's 2%.
If you include revenue.
If you include revenue.
Including revenue.
Correct.
The budget is up in the jail 2%.
Correct.
5% from last year's actual usage, but if you add in or subtract revenue, it's
Yeah.
only up 2%.
2%.
Correct.
And that was our goal when we started with the union contract. Actually, with department heads, the commissioners had put out, stay within 2%.
Yeah, they make it easy.
You did it.
I think it's a good budget, I really do.
I agree.
I know our job is just a budget, but I know we're gonna come up here pretty soon with the contract on whether or not the delegation is, and I have just a couple of questions that, may I ask?
Sure.
If you go to, Article 6, it says full-time employees shall be entitled, this is 6.1.
Okay.
Entitled to a payment equivalent to 84 hours of straight-time wages on the first payday in December of each year. Now, that is if they don't take any leave at all, right?
Thinking anyways.
It's the holiday, right?
Yeah, it's holiday.
I mean, why are they getting an extra week's pay?
They don't get paid time and a half to work the holidays like most places. Instead of getting time and a half, they get paid for 84 hours of straight time at the end of the year. That's been the contract for years. That's nothing new. They don't get paid time and, like a lot of places, you get paid time and a half for a holiday. They don't get paid time and a half, they get straight time and check at the end of the year.
So this has nothing to do with leave.
No.
Everybody just gets an extra week pay in December. Why, is that because it's Christmas holiday or something?
Because they don't get paid their holidays throughout the year, they don't get
They
paid.
choose
any
not
of
to
their
get paid the holidays throughout the
Well,
year.
according to this, they get paid, if they're working at night, they get an extra $1 an hour. If they're working the holiday shift, they get an extra 75 cents an hour.
No. The holiday shifts, they don't get any extra money. Evening shift, they get 75
What
cents.
about weekends?
Weekends, they get $1 on weekends.
What's the difference, weekend, holidays?
They don't
They don't get any extra money on holiday.
They don't get any extra money on a holiday, they have to work it.
Federal
But they
holidays.
but they get extra money if it's a weekend.
Yes.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Well,
They get 84 hours of leave after they do 12 months, so I just assume, there's not a Christmas giveaway, that they would get paid 84 hours if they didn't take any leave. But you're saying no, they get it, even if they took their full 84 hours of leave,
84 hours is.
in December, first payday, they still get an extra week's
The
pay.
84 hours they take is their vacation time. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not
that's
the
what I'm
holiday.
talking about, vacation
They
time,
earn vacation time, correct.
yeah.
Yes.
But they get that extra week, whether they take that vacation or not. So they get-
One has nothing to do with the other. The holiday pay is because they don't get time and a half on holidays, they don't get any extra money on holidays. Instead of that, they get a straight time pay for a check of 84 hours. Most places you get time and a half, or double time and a half, depending on places you're at when you're working holidays. In this contract, and it has been this contract for years, that's the way it goes.
would you rather pay time and a half on a holiday? Or double time?
No, they already get an extra $1 an hour when they're working on weekends.
No, that's a weekend, that's not
Yeah.
a holiday.
How many national holidays are there that fall on a weekday?
I don't know. Do you know?
There's a lot.
If they fall on a weekend, they change into the weekday. I think there's 14 federal holidays, isn't there?
We get paid for 10, I believe.
Okay.
And they only start with their vacation after 12 months. And then it starts.
Correct.
Yes. They'll earn as they go along, but they can't use it until after 12 months.
So they get an extra week's pay for holidays, whether they work on them or not. And then they get an extra week's pay if they don't take any leave or vacation, another 84 hours. Article 9.5. After 365 days of absence, the county no longer has to take care of dental or health insurance. You mean they can be gone for a whole year and we still have to cover their health and medical and their dental insurance for a whole year, even if they're absent?
There's a contract.
It is under.
Wait a minute.
Shall not be required once they're gone for 360, that means they have to,
Well, they can pay Cobra while they're gone, is what they're
they
saying.
have to be covered for a whole year.
Well, they can pay Cobra, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
They can pay Cobra, they're paying a big expense, Cobra portion of it, but after 365, the county doesn't even have to keep them on, so they can pay a Cobra. So Cobra is when you leave, you can pay a lot of money to keep your insurance, basically. But after 365 days, the county no longer has to keep money. That's.
That's right.
That's the way-
That's a
It's
federal
pretty
law.
standard, that's an eggs federal law, it's pretty standard in most contracts.
Yeah, Cobra is federal, I mean, you have to offer that.
And the other question I have is, there's something in here that says, as soon as this takes effect, everybody who's not in a probationary status will not only get the pay raise that's in here, but everybody else goes up one step. They get a step raise on the day that this takes effect,
That is.
plus the pay raise.
No. There is no pay raise. The pay raise is moving up on the step. Wherever they're at, if they're making $14.25, they go to $14.70. They go onto the wage scale. That is their, if you want to call it, increase. It's not, there's no COLA in here. It's not like we're giving a cost of living and going on here. There's no cost of living. Whatever you.
There is if
If they're at the top of the
if you're
step.
at the top.
Top.
You get a cost of living
Right.
between.
There's only a couple that are off the scale, and those people would only get, when this went through, 1.5, no more than 3% based on the cost of living index over 10 years. That's it. But there's no COLA for everybody else. Their increase
Yeah,
would be.
I understand that,
Okay.
but they're not getting a pay raise. What they're getting is a
Step.
step increase.
Well, that's, okay.
No pay raise, just a step.
Just a step increase, correct.
Yep. Unless they're at the top of the step, then they
Yeah,
would
then
get
they can't go any higher.
1.5 to 3.
But that means that these contracts last how long? 2 years?
These are
2 years.
the
So
reason why.
they get a step increase once a year, automatic,
Tied into performance
semi-automatic.
Right, right.
And then every time a new contract comes out, they get another step increase. So every 4 years, they go up 6 steps.
No,
No, this is a 5-year step that we're approving this year, even though the rest of it is for a 2-year contract. The reason for the 2-year contract is we're not sure yet if we fall under the Affordable Care Act and health insurance. That's why they're at 2 years and the nursing home is at 2 years. Sheriff's Department is at 3 years because their health insurance is different than the other two.
I'm not talking about health insurance, I'm talking about step raises.
step raises, you get 2, because then after that, the contract's no good, so a lot of times the contract will freeze at that point until you renegotiate again and decide where
When
it's
this
going to be.
contract goes into effect, they get a step raise. That's their
Yep.
increase.
Yep.
Do they also get a raise during the year, their normal yearly step increase?
They get an increase on when they're on their anniversary date.
On their anniversary.
On their anniversary date.
So if their
is-
anniversary date is the 15th of April, they get a step raise on the 1st when this goes into effect, and then they get another one on the 15th when their anniversary date
That's
comes.
why,
Which means every 4 years, they can get 6 step raises.
oh, no, once you're on the scale, it won't be an issue. Initially, it's gonna be, there's gonna be all over the map initially. Once the wage scale is in there, it won't be the same.
4 and 2 is 6. If they get 1 step raise a year on their anniversary, that's 4. One every year for 4 years. And then if they get 1 every time a new contract comes out, that's 2 more. That's 6 raises every 4 years.
Well, you usually would, depends how you look at it. If they do a cost of living increase, you might get that, but if you keep a wage scale, then no, you'd still stay on the wage scale. You're not looking at 2 increases, it would still be on your anniversary date. Usually once you have a wage scale, the next contract doesn't say, or restart the wage scale. It would be, here's a cost of living increase, which might change the wage scale, and you still only get, yes, a cost of living increase up front, and when your next year comes around, you'll be on that still wage scale. That's
No way
almost,
getting around it. You're getting 6 raises every 4 years. And if you already reached the top, you're getting a 3% cost of living on top of it.
Well, normally the cost of living is around 1.7.
Well, it says it has to be between 1.5 and 3.
That's right. The minimum is 100.
No matter what it
1.5.
is, no matter what the index is. You can't go lower than 1.5 or higher than 3.
Right.
So even if the index goes down to 0, you still get a 1.5. Even Social Security doesn't get, and retirees don't get that.
No, if it's 1.5, if it's 1.7, they round it off to the whole number, so you get 1%, not 1.7. Right?
No, not retirees or military retirees and
You're
Social
in a
Security.
different, you're in a different category than I am.
Social
I guess.
Security,
Yeah.
it goes right to the 1.7, 1.8, 1 point whatever. They don't lower it.
I'm gonna show you my slip that I got back. It says they rounded off to the whole number. To me, it's one.
Yeah, and mine went down,
They
so
might
I don't
go-
want to talk about.
They might go
Social
1.7 rather than 1.72.
I'll show you.
But what the contract does do is, what is it, 5 steps now to?
Yeah.
Five
you
steps.
know, for guard. And,
Which puts us more in line. Every other county besides us has a wage scale increase, about 10 of them, because you're invested after 10 years. So every county we looked at, they all have some sort of step increases. Coos County, who's even smaller than us and about our demographics, their officers start higher than ours does, even with this contract going through, and they get 30 cents each year as a step increase. And when they negotiate the contract, they also might get a COLA increase. So we are, right now, the lowest paid in the state for your correctional officers. We're trying to bring them up to scale a little bit.
The chart that I saw, some of them were a lot more than 30 cents.
He said
And
about 40.
Initially, yes. To get them on the scale. You are correct, to get them on the scale. And I'll just throw some, you can go on Labor Market Bureau of New Hampshire Employment Securities. In 2013, the average in this area right here for employment doing goods and products is $806 a week. Industries, $610 a week. Private industry, $634 a week. Government, federal, local, $713 a week. And private industry, $646 a week. Even if we jump these guys up to $1425 next year, that is $570 or every 2 weeks. $570. So we're still behind of what they can even make just walking around this community and getting another job. Thus, it's tough for us to get people here to do this type of position. We're trying to bring them up.
what I would like to know is, number one, if things fall in right, your anniversary date and everything else, it is possible to get 6 step raises over a 4-year period. Number two, you're going by hourly wages and that, you know, maybe you're mixing oranges and apples. What does the average corrections officer, made a little line, what does he make a year including all benefits? Without including overtime and including his regular pay, including his
I can tell you, but when
all of it.
you add insurance and everything else, they're living off of $18,000 and change a year. That's what their take home is. $18,000 and change. $600, less than $600 a week.
I'm not talking about take home. I want to know what their pay is.
On what I gave you there, they didn't include their benefits of insurance and those kinds of things either. I'm just going off of wages, what people are bringing home. I'd have to go out each company.
Well,
and
I think Lynette can give you, what he's looking for is a loaded rate of, you know, plus benefits.
But you'd have to, if you're gonna compare, like I just got a gentleman leave, go to the hospital. I was comparatively speaking. For $5 more an hour, plus with a retirement, plus with disability, long-term disability insurance, and short-term disability insurance to go work security at a hospital, leaving our place for $5 more an hour. Because our benefit package is not that great compared to a lot of other places. I mean, Mr. McConkey wants to throw out there how great it is, but when staff's now gonna have to pay $3,000 as a family out of pocket before your insurance kicks in, $1,000 per person, and pay for a family plan $400 and change a month, and add another $3,000 on top of that, it is very difficult to make a living, especially in this area. You're gonna be head of household, because there isn't a lot of other jobs out there, so we're not talking high dollar amounts for these people coming in here.
You know, this group right here, we kind of represent the county, and we're talking about county pay. You guys represent the state. What are you guys paying your state correctional officers?
I
And
see
how do you justify that rate?
I see advertised in the paper for the state prison, a lot more than what we're given here.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe we should compare what you guys are paying in the state versus what we're paying in the county.
Well, I know that I've got a bill in right now to give people a tax break for hiring new people.
I understand that.
And the way they figure it out is they have to make more than 150% of the minimum wage. And the way the state figures it out is they include medical, dental, and all the other benefits. So that's included in that 150% of minimum wage. You can tell me what the hourly wage is and that, but then you tell me they get paid an extra week for this, and an extra week for that, and an extra week for this, and they get a uniform allowance, and they get a Cadillac insurance plan. So what is it, what's the value of it? That's what I wanna know.
They're not getting a Cadillac plan.
No, that's right.
That absolutely is not. A Cadillac plan is $26,000 and higher for a family plan. These employees are not getting a Cadillac plan. That's not correct.
McConkey asked that question the other day, and they said yes.
We did not. This is not a Cadillac plan. If it was a Cadillac plan, we'd be paying extra for it. That starts in 2017. These employees are getting $20,000 a year for a family plan. You look at the number for a Cadillac plan, it's $26,000 and higher.
Yeah, but you can't compare the state and the county, because the county taxpayers have to be factored into what they can actually support to pay. So I don't know if you can get a state price or a state wage and a county wage and somehow equalize that.
Yeah, but we're competing with that.
You know, just the other counties. I think Coas County starts at $15.50 and with 10-step increases. Belknap County starts at $17 and change with 10-step increases. So, and in town itself, for, you want to say benefits, but the take-home pay to live off of, they walk out the door making more money in the community than they do where we're at. So we have a hard time retaining them. Never mind the benefit package, it's what you can live off of to pay for food, your living, in general. That's the part of the problem. So we're looking at these two other areas which are kind of similar to us. That's where we're competing with. Coas County lost one person in like 3 or 4 years. Belknap County lost 2. They're staying because in that area they pay pretty well for the area, and you can see projected the 10 years of where you're going to be at. Where this contract is, at least to start, you get 5 steps. It is a good start for this county to hopefully retain more staff.
I'd have to see the tax revenues in Coas compared to Carroll. I don't know if they're the same or not.
Well, like I said, we can't solve world hunger today. You know, my opinion is, I thought that a 50% plus turnover rate is just crazy, not sustainable. I think there's a huge cost in that. And, I'm somewhat optimistic that this just might knock that down to a more reasonable level. We shall see. So,
There's one other thing that strikes me in the contract. Everything in there is covered right down to the shoelaces, except the amount of money that the unions take out. It doesn't give a percentage, it doesn't give an amount. All it says is what they require will be taken out, whether you're a union member or not.
If you don't want to be part of the union, you don't have to pay.
Pardon?
You do not have to join the union if you do not want to.
You don't have to join the union, but if you don't join, you still have to pay.
No, you don't. It's not.
According to this, you do.
No, they don't.
An assessment fee.
Yeah, they don't. They do not charge. I was the past president of that union down in Merrimack County.
According to this, the union can make them pay.
They don't. They do not choose not to join. They do not charge them.
And you don't have to join, I know, that's against
And
the
they
law.
don't charge them. They don't have them pay.
And if they're not a union member, they don't pay the assessment fee, like it says in here?
Oh, they don't pay the fee if the union's going to represent them and you get to an arbitration. They're going to have to pay the fee of the arbitration. They're out of their own pocket.
Same thing, arbitration fee. But, what does it say in here? The arbitration fee will be the same as that paid by a union member.
So they pay dues and an arbitration fee?
No, arbitration fee, if they're in a union, you don't pay it.
They don't have a choice, they have to pay the dues, and it says right in here, as a condition of their employment.
It's not
Right?
the case. It's not the case.
Right?
No, wrong.
It doesn't say that?
I disagree with you. They
Doesn't
do not,
say that?
They do not pay if they don't want to.
It doesn't say
Well,
as a
it doesn't.
condition of your employment?
They don't want part of the union, they don't pay.
Well, why does the union hide the figure? Why don't they put it in the contract, what it's costing the employee?
I don't even know if it's
They won't put a percentage, they won't put a dollar amount, it's just, you pay it, and it's called this. It doesn't say how much it is.
I'd have to look at the last contracts I even did. I don't think it was in there. But even so, this is their very first contract they've even negotiated here. And they came in the fifth hour to even try to do this. There's only so many changes they could make. So I imagine next contract, if that's something you want in there, they
That's my telephone.
may want it in there.
What about him?
Can we say that it's
Yours?
No.
Well, folks, why don't we adjourn? Again, thank you for your participation. See you at our next exciting meeting.